May God's peace, mercy, and blessings be upon you. Hello guys, my name is Saifuddin. Today we'll talk about the ancient Omani glories and the National Day of the Sultanate of Oman. I extend my sincere congratulations to you, to the Omani nation, government, and people. On behalf of myself and my family, and on behalf of the Egyptian people who have great respect for the people of Oman and its government and everything in Oman, the highest meanings of love and appreciation on the occasion of the 54th National Day. Can you believe that? 54 times? And may God bring this day back for many, many years and long times. So first, if I asked you what you know about the Sultanate of Oman, what did you say? You'd say oil. Of course you'd say oil. What? Oil. Why wouldn't you say oil? It's full of oil. It's made of oil. Anyways, a strategic location on oil supply lines or the Strait of Hormuz, which separates the Arabian Peninsula from Persia, the most important oil tanker corridors in the world, and the Omani Muzandam Peninsula. The ocean is 50 kilometers wide. 40 kilometers wide. But guys, the Sultanate of Oman is characterized by beautiful nature reserves, extremely beautiful mountain ranges, ancient castles, picturesque beaches, and many beautiful natural landscapes. Omani sweets, distinctive Omani food, and beautiful Omani clothing. Praise be to Allah the most gracious. There is nothing more beautiful or wonderful than this. Oman is one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and its people are hospitable, among the most generous, kindest, and refined people in the world. Today we'll talk about another side of this quiet country. This peaceful country, the Arabian Sea and the Arabian Gulf, made Oman a large maritime empire, like a big empire, extending from Pakistan to the coast of Africa in the west. So Oman was an empire for thousands of years? No. When we say a naval power that ruled the seas for a long period of time, from the 17th century to the 19th century, we can say that we are talking about the Spanish Armada or the Portuguese legend or Great Britain. During this period, the Omani naval empire was competing with all of these. It controls the roads and trade of the entire Indian Ocean. That's just crazy, man. The trade route between China in the east to the coast of Africa in the west was controlled by the Omanis for a long period of time. But before we talk about this period of time, let us go back in time, because they actually found golden inscriptions that tell about the Omani merchants 4,000 years ago. And if you see this, and if you see the geography of Oman, you'll find mountain ranges that act as like barriers between the shores of Oman and external surroundings of the country, and this protected it from external invasion from other countries, like any country you think of. This helped it maintain its independence, and any external force could not stay long in Oman. For example, during the Umayyad and Abbasid eras, the central state's control over it weakened to the point that they used it to set an example of it in its distance. But in all cases, the emergence of Islam was a turning point in the history of Oman, because before Islam, the Persian Empire was controlling the Indian Ocean trade, and when this empire it made room for the Omanis. Al-Masudi, the famous historian and geographer, visited the shores of Africa in the 10th century and said that Omanis had a major role there commercially, and that they were the masters of trade in the Indian Ocean between the coasts of East Africa, India, and China. And many of the great sailors and navigator scientists were Omanis at that period, like Ahmed ibn Majid. He's world famous. World famous. You hear that? This crazy word. For his contribution to the science of navigation. He spent 50 years studying navigation theoretically, and practically he read every book written before him about navigation. Every book. After that, he wrote many important books such as the Book of Benefits, and sailors relied on him for more than 200 years to sail in the Indian Ocean. There was even a rumor that he was the one who helped Portuguese sailors to circumnavigate Africa. And what we can conclude from this rumor is it was published because the Omanis were brilliant at navigating, brilliant navigators, to the point that it was impossible for Portugal to reach what he did without having a diligent Omani navigator with him. That's crazy. However, this incident was the beginning of a worldly era. The Portuguese campaigns took control of ports and cities of East Africa. That's like super useful. Hazwat was inhabited there, and its currency was centered to protect the Portuguese ships that controlled trade in the Indian Ocean for more than a century and a half. Of course, when the Portuguese finished with the ports of East Africa, they turned to the port of Oman itself, which is close to the Indian subcontinent, of course, and thus controls the shores of Oman, will cut off trade with India. This is what the people of East Africa and the people of Oman continued to suffer from the Portuguese occupation until the middle of the 17th century. Oman was united and was able to liberate its coast from the occupation and then regain control of the coast of East Africa from the Portuguese and establish the large empire that extended from the coast of the Arabian Gulf to the coast of East Africa. From Mozambique in the south to Mogadishu in the north, its influence reached the coasts of Pakistan and Iran. They were like putting lots of Omani influences in the world, and it competed with the Portuguese. This is one of the rare cases which a local non-European power was able to compete with a European power and take its areas of influence. Have you ever heard someone beat a European empire or compete with it before? I don't think so. This means that at this time the European power was controlling global navigation. If the Portuguese weakened, we would find the Dutch, the British attacking to take their place in the areas of influence. In fact, at the time the Omanis were striking the Portuguese forces wanted to take the place of the Portuguese who were ignorant, and these forces supported the Dutch and the Portuguese, but they were surprised by the presence of a local force, which is the Omani legend, and they were solving the areas, their influence, and after a period of conflicts in the Arabian Gulf, the Arabian Sea, and the Indian Ocean, the British were forced to deal with the Omani Empire and its existence as a fait accompli because Oman at that time was unified after a period of internal conflicts and wars with Nadir Shah, the ruler of Iraq. And the golden age of the Omani Empire began, especially during the days of Sultan Said bin Sultan. This sultan's rule continued throughout the first half of the 19th century, and the island of Zanzibar had a special place for him. He made it the second capital of his state during this period. Oman became famous for being a good place for trade and business and everything you pretty much want. We find this talk in the writings of European travelers and even the immigrant traders of foreigners who were welcomed in this era. And Zanzibar became a global trade center in the Indian Ocean, so that Omani commercial activities reached America. Because if we go back to the American records, we'll see that Oman sent an embassy to New York, headed by the diplomat and the advisor to the Sultan and merchant Ahmed bin Naaman al-Kabi. And at that time, he met with the American vice president, and they carried out several commercial operations in favor of Oman and Zanzibar. And because the Omani Empire, which relied on trade relations and not military control, historians, including historian Marcus Fink, say that Oman was not an empire but a thalassocracy, a state that relied on trade to spread its influence, like lots of trading for money, similar to the Phoenicians in the eastern Mediterranean, a state that of strong military center, posing its control over the outskirts militarily, like Rome and the Roman state, but a commercial state relied on a network of sea routes, initially sailors and scientists, and this network linked distant parts with each other, commercially and culturally. And for this, as historian G says, we can consider the mid-19th century the era of the apogee of the Omani Empire. The empire stipulated writing the history of the world. Oman played a fundamental role in the history of the world and in shaping it as we know it now. I'd like to inform you, my friends, that if we continue talking about the Sultanate of Oman, there will not be enough time, and the paper will not be enough until we fulfill Oman's rights. And last but not least, I hope that God, the Most High and Almighty, will preserve your countries, and honor your Sultan, and that He'll support it with the truth and support the truth with it. O Lord of the worlds, God willing, to more progress and prosperity under this good governance. And may God continue to bless you with security and safety. Glories, O Oman, glories. May God's peace, mercy, and blessings be upon you.